One thing I like about Purdy, I appreciate about Purdy, is he's like almost too honest at press conferences. If you ask him, like, what did you do wrong in this game? He'll totally explain it. He won't run from anything. It's almost like he's like you're a priest and he's in confession. It's kind of how it feels. He's very religious. Maybe he feels he needs to bear his soul. So you asked him like, what was the issue against Green Bay? And from his perspective, he was too aggressive. He was trying too hard to fit passes downfield when he should have been taking checkdowns. And he said that repeatedly. And I think it's really interesting. Usually players don't give specific criticism about themselves because that allows people to sort of judge them accurately in the future. But he just laid it out. I need to check the ball down more, which I think is really interesting. And I blame Ryan Hensley for this. Okay? He was calling this guy. I blame Ryan. He was calling Brock Purdy a dink and dunk quarterback for a long time. And I think Brock got it in his head. You know, he's in the MVP race. I'm not a dink and dunk quarterback. I'm a gunslinger. I'm going to prove it. And I think he's gotten himself in a little bit of trouble the last couple of months.
Right.
Being overly aggressive. We appreciate that part of his game. But to his point, check the freaking ball down, man. You don't need to prove that you're a gunslinger all the time, just when necessary.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to pull that thing out all the time. Like, only when it's justified.
Pause. I know you caught that. Jesus.
Because I know you got it on you. You know what I'm saying? But you don't need to.
You don't need to pull that thing out.
Sorry.
You a wild boy.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It sounded better in my head. My bad.
All right. So I agree. So with how he played, he was taking a little bit off. Whoa, I was about to. All right, so he was doing a little bit more than he had to do that time. He's not necessarily using all of the players, all of his teammates around him, and he was pressing. One thing that I will say is that our offensive line didn't do him any favors again, and that's something that I give Brock a lot of credit for. Is that he does get the ball out at such an efficient and quick clip that at times we do forget that we have pretty much one of the worst passing offensive lines in the league, right? And a lot of that happens when defensive lines and defenses start understanding that you have to rush 5. We're going to see it again this week, guys. Detroit rushes 5. That's primarily what they do. And if they're not rushing 5, they're rushing 6 or 7. That's what they do. So again, go ahead.
No, I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
Because we're going to talk. The title of the show is How the Lions Will Defend Brock Purdy. And I know that's what they do, but they need to figure out how to defend Brock Purdy. So we're going to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was just talking about, I don't want to step on you, but that's what I was talking about from the offensive line perspective.
That's their tendency. Yeah.
That is their tendency. And because of that, Brock does look down a little bit. Like he feels it. I don't want to say that he takes his eyes off of the field, because that's definitely not what he does. Not at all. But he does feel it when that pocket gets muddy, and he's trying to get more bang for his buck because he understands the offense at a very well level. Like, he really understands it. This is one thing that I do see for Brock that I've said in previous shows, is that I scout him out. If he's going to be here, if he's going to be our guy, Brock has the potential to be one of the most efficient quarterbacks of all time. And because of that, we're going to have to see him take his lumps with his ego, because the difference is that Brock isn't being reactionary. He's trying to pick his spots because he literally knows where everybody is supposed to be. So when he's pressing, he can tell you for sure he's pressing, because it's up to his discretion on whether or not he wants to traditionally go through his reads or if he wants to press. And at times he got himself into some bad spots against Green Bay.
Yeah. I just think it's teams kind of know where he wants to go. Like, teams know that he wants to push that ball 15 yards down the field, down the middle. And the check down is going to be wide open for him. The check down is a good option for him. It plays into Ryan Hensley's narrative. It doesn't make him look like a franchise quarterback or like an elite quarterback, but it's the right play. And it's a smart play on this team. And it's what Drew Brees did his whole freaking career. So, I mean, look, we don't need to tell Brock Purdy to do this. He said it. He knows. That's the best part about Brock Purdy. He knows. And look, like compare him to Josh Allen. This is an interesting comparison. Brock Purdy and Josh Allen, like they're like probably opposite quarterbacks. Just dead opposites. Josh Allen is the most physically gifted quarterback I think I've ever seen. Brock Purdy for sure ain't. But Josh Allen is one of the worst decision makers I think I've seen at quarterback. He makes awful decisions routinely. Whereas Brock Purdy's one of the better decision makers I've seen in the last few years. He makes excellent decisions. So who do you want more? A guy who's physically limited but makes good decisions, or a guy who's physically unlimited but makes bonehead freaking decisions every week? Hard to say. Probably Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Probably Josh Allen. But damn, dude. Like, who can coach that guy? It's a tough one.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Buffalo. One thing that I also want to bring up as well is that, we got outran. That's something that's not really being like talked about. We got outran by the Packers. They were more dedicated to the run game than we were. And on top of it, Brock threw the ball 39 times. So for me, I just like to say I like to see a little bit more of a run game, more of a because I feel like the run game not only is more of our identity, but it protects Brock, like throwing the ball damn near 40 times for 252 yards. That ain't it. That ain't enough juice off that ain't enough juice for the squeeze, man. And I feel like it's like, Kyle, you dropped this kid back 39 times and he got one touchdown with an 86.7 rating. And he damn near threw 2 picks. It's like, what are we doing here? I just be a little bit more economic with the kid, man.
Yeah. All right, let's get some super chats real quick. Philip Wilson. The deciding factor in this game will be Ambry Thomas. I have a strong feeling Dan Campbell is going to continuously attack him as he should. I mean, anyone that does their homework knows you got to. It's a good defense. There's not that many green lights on it. That's one. Corey Patterson, I feel they have played a lot more conservatively since the Ravens game. When they played Commanders, it wasn't the same and hasn't been since. Less shots.
That's true.
Well,
that's true.
Now would be a good time to bring it back. Dazza says Huff has also given up some big plays. Overall, the run D needs to be much better. True. David Baker, how important is it for our D-line to get intense pressure on Goff? Extremely important. That's like the number one key in the game. Number one key. David Baker, coach is right. Better to be proactive than reactive. Coach is always right. Have you noticed? Matthew Sanders, coach, they needed a 53-yard run to crack 100. Just saying.
That's so true. I saw that super chat coming up, Matt. That's true.